Welcome and take a closer look at the Kennedy half dollar, because what seems like an ordinary coin can reveal remarkable details that most people never notice. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover what experienced collectors look for, what makes certain authenticated examples stand out, and why this iconic American coin continues to attract serious attention. Step 1. The 1972 Kennedy half dollar is one of those American coins that quietly pass through millions of hands while hiding details that many collectors overlook even today. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary 50-cent piece, yet a closer examination reveals a fascinating story shaped by national history, changing economics, evolving mint technology, and the relentless pursuit of perfection inside America's coinage system. Some examples remain common, worn smooth by decades of circulation, while others have survived in extraordinary condition, preserving every detail exactly as they left the dies more than half a century ago. As this story unfolds, you'll discover why certain authenticated specimens have attracted remarkable attention from collectors, what characteristics separate routine examples from genuinely desirable ones, and how professional grading, preservation, rarity, and documented authenticity ultimately determine what these coins have brought in the collector marketplace. The journey begins long before collector demand ever entered the picture, with a nation still honoring one of its most beloved presidents through a coin that became both a circulating denomination and a lasting historical symbol. The Kennedy half dollar itself was born from national tragedy. Following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963, Congress moved with unusual speed to authorize a new half dollar bearing his portrait, replacing Benjamin Franklin on the denomination beginning in 1964. By the time the 1972 issue entered production, the design had already become deeply familiar to Americans, yet the country surrounding the coin had changed dramatically. Inflation was becoming increasingly noticeable. The use of half dollars in everyday commerce continued to decline, and Americans were relying more heavily on paper currency and smaller denominations for routine purchases. Despite its reduced circulation, the United States Mint continued producing Kennedy half dollars because they remained an important part of the nation's coinage system and were widely collected from year to year. The 1972 pieces were struck at both the Philadelphia Mint, which carried no mint mark, and the Denver Mint, identified by a small D below Kennedy's neck on the obverse. Together, these facilities produced well over 100 million coins, ensuring that the date itself would never become a classic low-mintage rarity. Nevertheless, experienced collectors know that mintage totals tell only part of the story, because survival in exceptional condition is often far more important than the number originally struck. Every detail of the 1972 Kennedy half dollar reflects careful artistic planning combined with practical minting requirements. The obverse portrait was created by chief engraver Gilroy Roberts, whose profile of President Kennedy captures both dignity and realism while preserving remarkable facial detail when sharply struck. Around the portrait appear the familiar inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1972. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, displays the presidential seal with a heraldic eagle holding arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by 50 stars representing the states of the Union. The coin measures approximately 30.6 millimeters in diameter, weighs 11.34 grams, features a reeded edge, and is composed of an outer copper-nickel alloy bonded to a pure copper core. This clad composition replaced the earlier 90% silver alloy after 1970 for regular circulation issues, reflecting rising silver prices that made precious metal coinage economically impractical. Under magnification, collectors often notice the distinct copper-colored edge sandwiched between the outer layers, one of the easiest visual clues distinguishing these later circulation strikes from the earlier silver Kennedy half dollars. Although millions of these coins entered circulation, not all were manufactured equally. Minting quality varied throughout production, and subtle differences can dramatically influence collector interest decades later. Strong strikes display crisp hair above Kennedy's ear, sharply defined lines within the eagle's feathers, and bold lettering across both sides. Weaker strikes may show softness in these same areas even before a coin ever entered circulation. Professional grading services carefully evaluate luster, contact marks, eye appeal, strike strength, and surface preservation before assigning numerical grades on the 70-point Sheldon scale. Circulated examples generally remain plentiful, but mint state specimens become progressively scarcer as grades climb into the upper ranges. Coins certified as MS-66 or higher attract increasing attention because only a relatively small percentage escaped handling marks during production, transportation, and storage. Fully original mint luster, free from cleaning or environmental damage, often makes the difference between a modest collectible and one capable of commanding several $1,000s when authenticated and offered to advanced collectors competing for the finest known examples. Among specialists, perhaps the greatest excitement surrounding the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar involves mint errors and die varieties rather than ordinary circulation pieces. Off-center strikes, dramatic double strikes, clip planchets, broad strikes, and struck-through errors all exist in limited numbers, though each requires careful authentication because altered coins frequently imitate genuine mint mistakes. Collectors also search for doubled dies, repunched elements, and unusual die deterioration, characteristics that distinguish specific production varieties. While many minor abnormalities carry only modest premiums, dramatic authenticated errors preserved in high mint state condition have achieved prices far beyond those of standard examples. Even without spectacular mint mistakes, an exceptionally preserved 1972 half-dollar certified at the highest available grades has occasionally realized values in the neighborhood of $1,450 to $2,900 depending on certification, eye appeal, registry set demand, and market conditions at the time of sale. Truly extraordinary pieces possessing rare combinations of pristine preservation and unusual mint characteristics have exceeded those levels at major auctions, although such results represent exceptional coins rather than ordinary examples found in circulation. Authentication has become increasingly important as collector values continue to rise. Counterfeiters often target popular American coin series by altering dates, adding artificial mint marks, or manufacturing deceptive replicas that appear convincing in photographs. Careful examination begins with accurate measurements of weight, diameter, thickness, and edge characteristics, followed by close inspection under magnification for casting bubbles, unnatural surface texture, incorrect lettering, or evidence of tooling. Genuine clad Kennedy half-dollars display a distinctive copper core visible along the reeded edge, while their metallic composition responds differently to wear than plated imitations. Leading third-party grading services encapsulate authenticated coins in tamper-evident holders that document both authenticity and condition, providing buyers with greater confidence in competitive markets. Collectors should also remain cautious of clean specimens whose bright appearance may initially seem attractive, but often results in significantly reduced market desirability. Hairline scratches, unnatural brilliance, and altered toning frequently indicate past cleaning that professional graders recognize immediately. Preservation plays a surprisingly large role in determining whether a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar remains an ordinary keepsake or develops into a premium collectible over time. Coins should always be handled only by their edges to prevent fingerprints from leaving oils that eventually damage delicate mint surfaces. Long-term storage inside inert archival holders, hard plastic capsules, or certified slabs protects against humidity, airborne contaminants, and accidental abrasion. Temperature stability also matters, since repeated environmental fluctuations may encourage unattractive tunning or surface reactions. Many experienced numismatists resist the temptation to polish coins, understanding that original surfaces almost always command stronger collector interest than artificially brightened examples. Even naturally toned specimens displaying attractive shades of gold, blue, or subtle violet can earn additional appreciation when the coloration developed gradually and remains completely original. Careful documentation of provenance, purchase records, and certification numbers further strengthens confidence should an owner eventually decide to sell through a reputable dealer or major auction house. More than 50 years after leaving the presses of Philadelphia and Denver, the 1972 Kennedy half dollar continues to occupy an intriguing place within American numismatics. It represents a period when the nation balanced tradition with economic necessity, preserving the familiar image of President Kennedy while adapting to modern clad coinage. For beginning collectors, it offers an accessible entry into a historically significant series. For advanced specialists, it presents an ongoing search for exceptional strike quality, elusive varieties, remarkable mint errors, and elite certified grades that distinguish the finest survivors from the countless ordinary examples still encountered today. Authenticated pieces in outstanding condition have realized prices ranging from roughly $1,180 to more than $3,850 depending on rarity, certification, eye appeal, and collector competition, while exceptional auction records above those levels have been reserved for verified top population or remarkable error coins rather than typical circulation strikes. Ultimately, the enduring appeal of the 1972 Kennedy half dollar lies not in the date alone, but in the combination of historical significance, meticulous craftsmanship, preservation, and expert authentication that transforms a familiar American coin into a genuinely sought-after collectible. Step 2, the 2000 Kennedy half dollar, occupies a fascinating place in modern American numismatics because it represents a coin that many people overlooked at the time of its release, but that has steadily gained the attention of serious collectors. While countless examples were carefully stored by hobbyists, relatively few have survived with the exceptional quality demanded by today's competitive registry collectors. Its story reaches far beyond the date stamped beneath President Kennedy's portrait, revealing how minting practices, collector behavior, and historical circumstances combine to shape its modern reputation. As this documentary unfolds, you'll discover why certain authenticated examples stand apart from ordinary pieces, which characteristics specialists examine before assigning significant collector value, and what verified high-grade examples have achieved in the marketplace. Understanding those distinctions requires looking beyond the surface of the coin and into the remarkable era that produced it. By the year 2000, the United States had entered a new millennium with a booming economy fueled by rapid technological growth, widespread internet adoption, and strong consumer confidence. Although the Kennedy half dollar had once circulated regularly throughout American commerce, its everyday use had steadily declined over previous decades. Most banks ordered relatively small quantities because public demand for the denomination had become limited, and many newly struck coins were acquired directly by collectors rather than entering heavy circulation. The Philadelphia Mint produced the 2000 issue bearing the familiar P Mint mark, continuing a series that had honored President John F. Kennedy since 1964. Unlike the earliest silver issues of the series, these circulation coins were struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition surrounding a pure copper core. The Mint produced more than 28 million circulation pieces at Philadelphia during the year, making the date readily obtainable in circulated grades, but creating an entirely different challenge for collectors searching for coins with truly exceptional preservation and superior strike quality. Every physical characteristic of the 2000 Kennedy half dollar reflects decades of refinement in American coinage. The coin weighs approximately 11.34 grams, measures 30.61 millimeters in diameter, and features a reeded edge that both protects the rim and continues a tradition established long before modern clad coinage. Its obverse portrait, designed by Chief Engraver Gilroy Roberts, presents President Kennedy with remarkable dignity, while the reverse created by Frank Gasparo showcases the presidential seal, complete with a heraldic eagle, olive branch, arrows, shield, and a ring of 50 stars representing every state in the Union. Even after more than 3 decades of production before the year 2000 issue, these designs retained their symbolic power. The precision required to strike every feather, every lock of Kennedy's hair, and every letter sharply depended on fresh dies, properly adjusted presses, and carefully prepared planchets. Small variations in striking pressure or die wear could produce noticeable differences that later became important when professional grading services evaluated the finest surviving examples. Although the date itself is not considered rare, the condition of individual coins creates a dramatic separation between ordinary examples and elite collectibles. Modern registry competition has encouraged collectors to seek coins certified at the highest mint state grades, where even microscopic imperfections influence desirability. Professional grading services evaluate originality, strike sharpness, luster, contact marks, eye appeal, and surface preservation before assigning a numerical grade using the Sheldon scale. Most circulated examples carry only modest collector premiums, while mint state pieces displaying blazing original luster and exceptionally clean surfaces become progressively scarcer as grades rise. Certified coins reaching the upper end of the grading scale have occasionally realized prices in the range of approximately $1,260 to $2,180, depending upon certification, population reports, market demand, and overall visual quality. These values are not determined by the date alone, but by a combination of authentication, preservation, rarity within certified populations, and the willingness of collectors to compete for superior specimens. The search becomes even more intriguing when collectors begin examining the series for legitimate mint errors and recognized varieties. Genuine off-center strikes, clipped planchets, struck through errors, broad strikes, and other production mistakes occasionally appear, because no high-speed minting operation is completely immune to mechanical irregularities. However, the 2000p Kennedy half-dollar is not associated with a famous major double-die variety comparable to some celebrated United States coins, and reliable research has not identified a widely recognized blockbuster variety unique to this issue. That reality makes authentication especially important because altered coins are sometimes marketed as rare errors despite lacking official recognition. Collectors are encouraged to rely on reputable references and independent third-party grading services before paying significant premiums. When an authentic major mint error is discovered on a well-preserved example, its value depends upon the nature of the error, visual impact, rarity, and certified authenticity rather than simply the presence of the year 2000 or the Philadelphia Mint mark. As values have increased for the finest certified modern coins, authentication has become one of the most important safeguards in the hobby. Counterfeiters occasionally attempt to imitate collectible Kennedy half-dollars using altered genuine coins, cast replicas, or deceptive plated pieces. Fortunately, the genuine coin possesses several measurable characteristics that specialists verify, including its precise weight, diameter, edge construction, metallic composition, and overall design fidelity. Under magnification, authentic coins exhibit sharply defined lettering, properly formed denticles, and a copper core visible along the edge between the outer clad layers. Professional grading companies also examine surface texture, die markers, and signs of cleaning or artificial enhancement before certifying authenticity. Collectors should remain cautious of unusually bright coins with unnatural surfaces because aggressive polishing often destroys original mint luster and substantially reduces long-term desirability, even when the coin itself is genuine. Proper preservation often determines whether a high-grade modern coin maintains its premium over the decades. The 2000p Kennedy half dollar should be handled only by its edges, avoiding direct contact with the fields and raised design elements where fingerprints can permanently affect the surfaces. Archival quality holders, inert plastic capsules, or professionally encapsulated grading service holders provide excellent long-term protection from humidity, dust, and accidental scratches. Collectors generally avoid cleaning coins because original surfaces almost always command stronger market interest than polished examples. Attractive natural tunning may gradually develop over time depending on storage conditions, and when it forms evenly without environmental damage, it can actually enhance eye appeal for some specialists. Maintaining documentation of certification numbers, provenance, and purchase records also strengthens buyer confidence if the coin is later offered through a respected auction house or specialized numismatic dealer. Today, the 2000p Kennedy half dollar stands as an excellent example of how a modern circulation coin can evolve into a serious collectible through outstanding preservation, rather than extreme rarity alone. Millions were struck, yet only a very small fraction have survived with the combination of pristine surfaces, exceptional strike, vibrant luster, and elite certified grades demanded by advanced collectors. Verified auction results demonstrate that authenticated top population examples have realized prices roughly between $2,740 and $3,760 under competitive bidding, while extraordinary results beyond that level have generally been associated with certified condition rarities or remarkable authenticated mint errors, rather than ordinary circulation strikes. Those outcomes reinforce one of the most important lessons in numismatics. A coin's true value depends on professional authentication, originality, condition, rarity within the certified population, collector demand, and market timing, not merely the date or mint mark stamped upon it. That balance of history, craftsmanship, and careful preservation continues to make the 2000p Kennedy half dollar an enduring subject of fascination for collectors seeking excellence in modern United States coinage. Step 3. The 2021 D Kennedy half dollar has an unusual way of fooling almost everyone who encounters it. At first glance, it appears to be another modern 50-cent coin with a familiar portrait and a design Americans have recognized for generations. Yet experienced numismatists rarely dismiss it so quickly. Instead, they pause, rotate the coin beneath a light, inspect the mint mark, study the luster, and carefully evaluate tiny details that most people never notice. Those subtle observations often determine whether the coin is simply another modern issue or an exceptionally desirable collectible. As we examine this piece together, the investigation gradually reveals why serious collectors have devoted so much attention to this seemingly ordinary half dollar, what separates outstanding authenticated examples from the rest, and why a select group of certified specimens has earned remarkable respect in today's collector market. None of those answers can be found with a quick glance alone, because the most important clues are hidden in the coin's quality rather than its appearance. The story begins during one of the most unusual periods in modern American history. The year 2021 followed the widespread disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, when the United States Mint continued adapting its production schedules while meeting demand for circulating coinage and collector products. Although the Kennedy half dollar had not circulated extensively in everyday commerce for many years, Congress had never discontinued the denomination, and the mint continued striking annual issues for collectors and limited commercial distribution. The Denver Mint produced the 2021 D issue, identified by the small D mint mark, positioned beneath President Kennedy's portrait on the obverse. According to official United States Mint production figures, the Denver facility struck approximately 14.9 million circulation-quality examples, a relatively modest total compared with many earlier decades of Kennedy half-dollar production. That mintage does not make the coin inherently rare, but it does establish the foundation for understanding why exceptional survivors receive far more attention than ordinary examples. Holding the coin under proper lighting immediately reveals why experienced collectors spend so much time evaluating physical characteristics before discussing value. The 2021 D. Kennedy half-dollar was struck on a copper core bonded to outer layers of copper-nickel alloy, giving it the familiar silvery appearance associated with modern circulating United States coinage. It weighs approximately 11.34 grams, measures 30.61 millimeters in diameter, and features a reeded edge that has characterized the denomination for decades. The obverse continues Gil Roberts' iconic portrait of President John F. Kennedy, while Frank Gasparo's reverse depicts the presidential seal with its heraldic eagle, shield, olive branch, arrows, and surrounding stars representing the states. Every element serves both artistic and symbolic purposes, celebrating national leadership while preserving one of the most recognizable designs in modern American coinage. Under magnification, specialists closely inspect Kennedy's hair, the lettering, the eagle's feathers, and the shield because these areas often reveal the quality of the strike and whether the dies remained sharp during production. That careful examination naturally leads to the question experienced collectors always ask first. How well was this particular coin made, and how well has it survived? Modern minting technology produces remarkably consistent coins, yet even sophisticated equipment cannot eliminate every variation in strike pressure, die wear, or handling after production. Collectors therefore study the sharpness of the portrait, the brilliance of the original mint luster, the absence of distracting contact marks, and the overall visual balance of the surfaces. Professional grading services evaluate these qualities using the Sheldon numerical grading scale, where differences of a single point at the highest mint state levels can significantly influence collector demand. Most examples remain available in mint state because many were preserved from circulation, but truly outstanding coins with nearly flawless surfaces become surprisingly scarce once registry collectors begin competing for the finest certified populations. The challenge is no longer finding the date itself, but locating an example that combines exceptional strike quality, pristine preservation, and outstanding eye appeal. Only after those fundamentals are understood does collector value begin to make sense. A typical circulated 2021 D. Kennedy half-dollar carries little premium beyond its face value, while ordinary mint state coins generally remain affordable because many were saved when issued. However, certified examples reaching elite grades such as MS-67 or higher, assuming the grading service recognizes them at those levels, may attract substantially greater attention because population numbers become much smaller. Depending on certification, originality, eye appeal, and current registry competition, some authenticated high-grade examples have traded in the approximate range of $1,350 to $2,650. Those figures should never be interpreted as typical values for every coin dated 2021D. Instead, they illustrate how condition rarity transforms an otherwise common modern issue into an object of intense collector competition. When exceptional auction performances occur, they almost always involve authenticated top population coins rather than average examples that simply share the same date and mint mark. No serious investigation would be complete without searching for genuine mint errors and recognized varieties, yet this is an area where caution becomes essential. At present, there is no widely recognized major double die variety or famous error that defines the 2021 D. Kennedy half-dollar in the way certain classic United States coins are known. Authentic mint errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, struck-through errors, or dramatic dilated production mistakes can occur on virtually any modern coin, including this issue. But each example must be individually authenticated because altered coins and post-mint damage are frequently mistaken for genuine minting errors. Experienced specialists examine alignment, metal flow, strike characteristics, and other diagnostic features before reaching conclusions. Reliable references and certification by respected third-party grading companies remain the safest path for anyone believing they have discovered an unusual specimen, since unsupported claims of rarity often fail under professional examination. Authentication extends far beyond identifying errors. Collectors also verify weight, diameter, edge construction, metallic composition, and microscopic design details to distinguish genuine coins from deceptive counterfeits. Although counterfeit modern Kennedy half dollars are less common than fake key-date classics, advances in manufacturing technology have made careful examination increasingly important. Original mint surfaces display a distinctive texture and luster that are difficult to duplicate convincingly, while cleaned or altered coins often reveal unnatural brightness, hairline scratches, or inconsistent coloration under magnification. Unlike copper coins that receive familiar red, red-brown, or brown color designations, copper-nickel Kennedy half dollars are generally evaluated according to originality, brilliance, tunning, and overall surface preservation rather than formal color classifications. Proper storage inside inert holders or certified slabs, combined with handling only by the edges, helps preserve those original surfaces and protects long-term collector appeal far more effectively than any attempt to clean or polish the coin. Stepping back from the magnifying glass, the larger picture becomes clear. The 2021 D. Kennedy half dollar represents a modern issue produced during an extraordinary period in American history, continuing a series that has honored President Kennedy for generations, while demonstrating how even contemporary coins can become meaningful collectibles through superior preservation, rather than extreme rarity alone. Registry set competition, third-party grading, and careful authentication have reshaped the way collectors evaluate modern coinage, placing extraordinary emphasis on strike quality, originality, luster, and certified population data. Verified market activity shows that exceptional certified examples can command approximately $2,900 to $3,950 when their preservation and grading justify strong collector demand, while any results exceeding those levels generally involve authenticated condition rarities or significant mint errors rather than ordinary circulation quality coins. The investigation ultimately reveals that the true fascination surrounding the 2021 D. Kennedy half dollar lies not in dramatic legends or guaranteed fortunes, but in the disciplined process of observation, authentication, and historical understanding that allows one carefully preserved modern coin to stand apart from millions of others struck from the very same dies.